Good to be here with you.
Thank you.
Man, I gotta tell you, you are a class act in our family. I feel like I know almost every song. I won't sing some of those for you here. Go Westing Man is one of my favorite.
Come on.
And some others as well. I want to read you some numbers that I just find to be very impressive. 30 plus years doing this. 32 number one singles. You've also won 3 Grammy Awards and 45 Dove Awards. You're also been inducted to the Gospel Music Hall of Fame and sold more than 15 albums. 15 million albums, not 15. How does that make you feel?
Well, it's a little overwhelming. I mean, I don't really look at figures, and I don't really go back and pay attention to that much. It's I never could have orchestrated any of this, so it's I pinch myself every day. I get up and go, wow, I still get to do this. So how it all happened, again, it's just a God thing, and I'm grateful.
Wow. Let's go back to West Virginia.
Yeah.
We won't stay there too long. We'll go there a little bit, though.
Born and raised.
And I know you love it. Looking back, do you think, wow, what has God done during this time frame? And at the same time, what drives you to do this every day?
Well, this is what I'm made for. And, we all have a sweet spot to hit in, and it can be a lot of different things. Mine just happens to be music. I'm creative. I think music is the most powerful universal language in the world. And so
I'd agree.
The fact that a 3.5-minute song can completely change somebody's life is astonishing to me.
Yeah.
And this is my calling, and I'm passionate about it. Even after all these years, I feel like my best work is yet to come. And so I'm not retiring. Maybe it'd been a different story if the people stopped coming.
Right.
Nobody listens to the music anymore, and maybe that would change the course of my thinking. But it still seems to be connecting, and I feel like the wind is at my back. And let's go. Here we go.
I mean, speaking of astonishing, you're doing 3 albums here within a month's time period here. Surrounded, of course. Well, A Million Lights was the first one.
Yeah.
Then Surrounded. Then you have a baby Lullaby coming out.
Yeah.
What in the world were you thinking doing 3 albums all within a 6-week window here?
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of help. I mean, the whole, to make a long story short, I knew I would always want to do the Lullaby record and the book for my grandkids forever. And so we were just waiting for the right time to figure out when that would, find that slot where we'd have some time to do it. But really, it goes back to A Million Lights. My dad went to heaven in November 15, and I didn't have much creative spark in 16. I think I was still grieving my dad. Probably still am on some level, but just trying to process all that. So everything that I tried to write in 16 was just awful. It was just like, it just wasn't there,
Wow.
Then the election happened.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't politics. It wasn't just the election, but what I saw after the election, how divided we were, and how people could get behind their computer and just say whatever they want to say with no regards for people's feelings. Then the bullying and the teen suicide and just, and the drug epidemic in our country. Yeah. And it came to a threshing point for me. I'm going, wait a minute, what are we doing? What's going on here? And so I went and wrote a song called Revolution, which is on A Million Lights, and then the dam broke, and I couldn't hit record quick enough. And so that's what began the creative process for A Million Lights. And then Surrounded is a whole different story of, Amos 5 passage that I had read so many other times before. And I was in the middle of making this pop record, and somebody directed me that passage again. And basically God saying, I'm tired of your sacrifices. He's talking to the people.
Yeah.
I'm tired of your sacrifices, and I'm tired of your music. Turn it off. I can't stand it.
Wow.
And what I'm looking for is justice to roll like a waterfall. And and for some reason at that moment where I was, it's sort of like it took my breath away, and it actually threw me against the wall. And I thought, God, have I got this whole thing wrong? It made me reevaluate everything that I'm doing. And then I just sort of had an epiphany of a moment of truth that I realized at that moment that worship and justice go hand in hand. And that we have to be taking care of the orphans and the widows, and we have to be activists, and we have to stand up for justice, and we have to be a voice for those who don't have a voice. I've always known that, but for some reason it had to marry to worship to me, that you can't separate them. And so it made me really sort of reevaluate everything I'm doing. And then I had this wild idea going, I want to do a worship record in the round, take all the attention off myself, have every color represented as possible.
Wow.
You know, every tribe, every nation. And I want to release that record a week after the pop record. You know, I wanted to go on an adventure. You know,
and it's been an adventure because that's usually not the thing to do.
No, you know, I always told people, if you can't find me, I'll be at Vanderbilt hooked up to an IV. Just come and visit with me, because I thought I've lost my mind. It's crazy, but the more and more I thought about it, it felt right, and my team kind of got behind the idea.
Yeah,
let's go. We think you're a little crazy, but we kind of like the idea at the same time. You know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the Lullaby thing, the 90 Night and Good Night thing, we'd already really started talking about that, but I just didn't. That record was really supposed to come out last year, and we just were pushing it. So it just happened. It just happened to fall in this whole period time of, you know, being close to the two, you know, A Million Lights and Surrounded coming out. So it sounds like I had completely lost my mind, but
right.
but the Lullaby thing and Nurturing Steps, all that really had kind of begun its adventure, and it just happened to come out the same year as all these other records. So
can we go back to when the dam broke?
Yep.
Creativity wise,
yeah.
What was that like? And I mean, you know, if you could just a little bit take us into, I know we're in your studio here, take us into your studio, into your private space. I mean, how did you know the dam had broken, first of all, and that you were ready to start writing?
I knew the dam broke when I wrote that song, because the next day I came and wrote 3, and the next day I came and wrote 4. You know. Now, I'm not saying they were completed. Yeah. But they were nuggets. I call them. They kept falling out of the sky. You know, to give it, whoa, here comes another one. Whoa, here comes another one. Falling out of the sky, just catching it.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Wish that happened all the time. You know?
And a lot of people think it does happen all the time to you.
It doesn't. You know, you have those moments where, you know, like in 2016, well, man, it's been a great run. Maybe I need to find another job. You know?
And did you really think it was over in 2016?
I think of that every year and a half or 2 years.
Do you really?
If you talk to every songwriter.
Even you, though, because I look at how many albums you sold. I know you may not be counting, but you know we are. And you still think this may be over.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I think you panic. And you would think that I would learn now to not panic.
Right.
You know, but I panicked. You know what I'm saying? So, and you know, I think we're just human. You know, that you know, you can't seem to write anything, and maybe, gosh, God, are you trying to tell me something? Am I supposed to do something else? You know, you just all those things. You know, sometimes your mind plays tricks on you, and then I just remember just dry periods of just no creativity, and then all of a sudden something shifts. You have an experience, or you go feed the homeless down under the Jefferson Street Bridge in Nashville, or you have some encounter that was life-changing at church or something. And then all of a sudden you come in 2-3 days later and you write this amazing melody that sounds fresh and whoa, well, what's that? You know, whoa, what is that? You know, and then you realize that you panic for no reason.
Wow.
And here it comes. The creative juices are flowing.
I can't tell you how many people you probably set free, because most people think, why would Michael W. Smith be panicking? Because you've done this for 30 plus years and you have all these different awards and all these different album sales. So why would he be panicking? And so for me in this interview, I'm going, man.
Well, you know what? I learned it from watching other people too. I've watched other people being interviewed. I remember watching Hans Zimmer, you know, he was one of my favorite composers. You know, he orchestrates, and
he's phenomenal.
And, he's just incredible. And I remember watching this interview with him, and I so resonated with his heart. He got the Gladiator, you know, and he just struggled. He struggled at the very beginning, going, I can't. And then I remember him saying, like, I think they've hired the wrong guy. You know,
even him,
even Hans. You know what I'm saying? So I think every songwriter, every composer has those moments of just being in the dark and just going, man, I just,
is this gonna make?
Is it gonna happen or not?
Yeah.
And then fortunately for Hans, I don't know if it was day 5 or week 2. I have to go back and watch the interview again. Something sparked,
Yeah.
And he came up with some sort of theme, and all of a sudden the floodgates opened for him, and all of a sudden he was writing this amazing score for Gladiator. So,
which is phenomenal.
Yeah,
Phenomenal.
amazing. Yeah.
For you look at all your different albums and stuff, so I hate asking this next question here. What makes these albums, I say these because there are 3 of them, different and special compared to the other ones? Is that a fair question?
Yeah. I think A Million Lights is a fresh new sound for me, pop-wise. I think I reinvented myself in a good way. I'm not trying to be like anybody else, but I think I created a different sound, and it's the most pop record I've done maybe ever in terms of just being kind of contagious pop.
Yeah.
But just production-wise, working with these young kids, I call them.
It's like you had fun.
We had fun.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun. And so I believe it. I think it's me. It sounds like me, but at the same time, you think, I've never heard Smitty do anything like that.
No, I hadn't. I mean, when I was listening to it, I was going, and no offense, like, is this really him? Because I've heard most of your music, and I've heard the very first worship album.
Yeah.
And I'm going, this sounds like him, but man, is this really him? So it sounded like you were having fun on this
I like to, I might have already said this, I love adventure. I love to take risk. And I get bored real easy,
Okay.
And so I don't want to go back and just try to go rehash and do what I've always done. I want to try different things. And even if I fail, it sure was fun doing it.
Wow.
And so failing's just part of life, but I want to go to another land I'd never been to before. So I push the envelope. I love to push the envelope.
Man, on these 3 albums, when you're talking about pushing the envelope, have there been times on other albums you pushed the envelope and you thought, man, we probably should not have pushed the envelope on this one?
Absolutely. And I won't name those songs.
Yeah, please don't.
Because they might be somebody's favorite song.
You may hurt some fans' feelings here.
Exactly.
How do you feel when you have pushed the envelope a little bit?
Well, you just go back and go, no, so what was my intention? Was my motivation right? Was I pushing the envelope just for trying to impress somebody?
Wow.
So maybe my intention wasn't totally dialed in or something, but I think I was dialed in on this. And Surrounded was, obviously that was a very intentional record, but it's that worship record is different than all the other worship records.
Wow.
And I think because it was in the round, I think because of the inspiration, the Every Tribe sort of thing, and
very soulful, by the way.
It is, yeah, it
very
is.
soulful.
There are some moments and then there's just some of these songs that are just amazing songs, and I can say some of the songs that are amazing are not mine, like Reckless Love, and the battle song, Fight My Battles, Surrounded, and so something happened that night in that setting that actually just literally was recorded 3 minutes from my studio in a warehouse. And it translates. You hear it and you just feel like you're there when you listen to the record. So, because it's not just it's an experience.
Yeah.
And it holds together sort of from song 1 all the way to the very end.
Yeah.
So, and ebb and flow, lots of being still, lots of interludes. Let's just kind of wait, what just happened? What did we just sing?
Wow.
Let's ponder a second. And then we go, we weren't in a rush. We let it breathe. And I think that was sort of the magic of the first worship record. We let it breathe. There was these moments that, like Let It Rain. We let it breathe. We didn't know Darren was going to come up and quote this script. Well, I knew he was, from the Psalms. But and then something happened. It just sort of just waiting on God. And I think when you do that, you give the Lord room to sort of breathe something else into the room, And I think that's what we did on Surrounded.
It sounds like it. One of my favorite choruses, Surrounded, Fight My Battles. I don't want to sing it for you here because you're the singer. How have you learned to let God fight your battles?
Trust Him.
Huh.
Yeah.
Is that hard to do in all of this?
Yeah, I mean, you go through moments of, it's easy to trust Him when everything's going right,
It is, yeah.
And then you can get into a battle, especially if it's a battle that's close to home.
Yeah.
Like if it has to do with one of your kids.
Yeah.
And you don't see any sort of light at the end of the tunnel and going, God, what's going on here?
Where are you?
Yeah, where are you? We've all said that.
Yeah.
Where are you? And fortunately, my kids are all doing great.
It seemed like it, by the way.
They're amazing. But matter of fact, I'm in this movie coming out this year called Beautifully Broken. I just have a small acting part, but I was just watching it last night again, and this father's just has just, he feels like he's losing his family. And
wow.
he's out in the front yard weeping, just going, God, where are you? I thought you had this. Where are you? So I think all of us, if we'll all be honest, we've all been there at some point in our lives.
Yeah. One of the questions that people want me to ask you over and over again is, man, how have you been able to endure the longevity in this industry? Most people don't stay as long as you stay, and I'm thankful that you're staying. How have you been able to endure it and last long?
Well, first and foremost, I think that people still love the music. I mean, there's that part of it. I love what I do.
You can tell.
I love what I do. And I think if I was a warrior and fretted all the time, tried to be number one or tried to be a rock star and always trying to I think I would have died a long time ago. Maybe not physically, but creatively, So, and I have fun. I'm having fun. And so I think it's just getting to the place to just keep the main thing.
Yeah.
And try to get to a place where this is, obviously it's not about you. One of my greatest goals in life, I'll say this, and this has a lot to do with, to answer your question, is one of my greatest goals, and I'm getting there, is that I'll never, ever, ever be offended by anyone ever again.
Really?
Yeah. So if you're not offended by anybody, like if somebody writes this article about, say, 1,000,000 Lights, and they just trash it, they think it's awful.
Wow.
Then it would not affect me. That's their opinion.
Okay.
Back in the day, I would have lost sleep over it.
Yeah.
I would have been bummed. I'm not anymore because I don't really care.
Huh.
I mean, I care about the fans.
Yeah.
And I care obviously about what I'm doing, but I don't really care. It's just somebody's opinion.
Yeah.
Why should that opinion affect my life? When it's really only one person's opinion is the most important thing, and it's how he feels about you. And I think that's really the key of knowing who you are, knowing that there's a destiny on my life, and I'm destined for greatness, all for the glory of God.
Wow.
And you can wake up every day and know that. Man, I'm ready to live to 110 thinking that way. You know what I'm saying? So that gives you life. And I find that the people who tend to die young, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually, are people who worry all the time. They just they worry and they just fret. And you find out those people are the people who get sick a lot.
Yeah.
And so I've just not chosen that path. I've chosen the opposite.
I'm glad you have, though. I mean, but it's one of those, looking back when you started with Amy Grant as her keyboardist and looking at your life, I feel like I've stalked you to a certain degree when it comes to research. Did you ever think that you would be singing at the Billy Graham crusade, first of all, but also singing at his funeral and then hanging out with presidents? Did that ever cross your mind as a keyboardist for Amy Grant back in, no offense, the 80s?
Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, I don't really... I was never one of those guys that was going to project a 10-year plan.
Yeah.
I mean, every day was just a challenge. Just live in the present.
I've been there.
Just live in the present. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take one year at a time.
Yeah.
And then, and then you find yourself being, when you're successful, then you're given a platform, and who knows what platform you're going to get. I mean, I was never supposed to be invited to Christmas in Washington in 1989, and I got invited at the last minute. Well, who's on the front row? President Bush Sr. His first year in office, and then all of a sudden I'm at the White House. Yeah. An hour after the thing's over, and I'm hanging out with the prez.
Pretty neat.
And then all of a sudden, two months later, he's going. Well, he tells me that, going, "You let me know when you're in D.C. You come see me." And I remember walking out going,
that'd be kind of like, what
he's
the world?
President of the United States.
Yeah.
He's lying. He's not telling me the truth.
Not being honest about this.
Well, then I call him, and I call with this. Hey, I'm in D.C. He said, and they call me because the president like to see you tomorrow. So, I mean, you can't orchestrate. You can't orchestrate stuff like that. And then you never know what you just never know where you end up being. And so, but you know what? To me, whether it's I look at my time with the president or George W. or the prime minister or Bono or whatever. I don't see that any more different than being with the orphan or being in a project with Compassion in Sudan or Uganda. Wow. It's all the same,
You can tell that you don't because you don't mention it, if that makes sense. There are some artists, and this is no offense to them or anything, where you just know they're hanging out with whoever the president is, whoever the cool person is of the week. You don't do that, though. Have you noticed that by any chance? I mean, because like it's one of those things where you have to go digging, to be honest with you, to find out that you do know.
Well, I just why make a big deal out of it? You know, maybe I did in the past. You know, like, you know, it's with people ask me. You know, I was in Greece with the president for a week on a vacation. It's like, wow, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm the more as I get wiser and you get older, you just go. You don't want to draw attention to yourself. You know, let's draw attention to what's important. You know, like who's hurting and how do we change the world.
Two more last questions. Thank you for your time.
That's great.
By the way, the Reverend Billy Graham.
Yeah.
What a I'm sitting here today. Wow. More than likely as a believer anyway. What did that mean to you to be a part of his funeral and his life?
Well, it was overwhelming. He was a great friend, and you know, I'd been slated to sing Above All at his funeral in Charlotte, and the whole Just As I Am thing at the Rotunda in D.C. That was
powerful. That
was sort of a last minute thing.
Wow. Really? That didn't like come. That wasn't like planned because it was powerful.
Yeah. Well, you know, the president made that call. You know, and that he wanted to honor the president, and that way, which was unbelievable.
Mind blowing.
It is mind blowing, and so. I think somebody from there had called Franklin and said, "Hey, you know, we don't have any music. Would you like to have music?"
Wow.
And Franklin said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, who do you want?" He said, "I want Michael W. Smith."
That's pretty neat.
So I get the call, and you know, and I'm thinking, I've got to go do it. And I started touring with all these songs, but I knew back in the back of my head and my heart that I knew I had to sing Just As I Am.
It's a powerful moment.
And I didn't sing it very good. Yeah,
it was a powerful moment.
I was just trying to get through it.
Wow, it did not come across that way on TV. Let me just say that. It was very, very powerful. You mentioned worship plus justice. Why do you think those two go together?
Because I think that's what God talks about most of all. And if you find out the things that really resonate with the heart of God, it's all about the poor. All throughout Scripture, Old Testament and New Testament, it's all about the poor.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I feel like it's my responsibility to sort of bring that to the attention of all of us worship leaders and all of us who walk with God, and I tell it to myself too. I'm not trying to be superior to anybody else. I'm just saying it has to be on our radar screen. If we expect God to really bless what we're doing. You know, basically, I love that Isaiah 58 passage, and I'm paraphrasing, that it says, you know, the poor, the orphans, those are in the gutter. And if you do these things, then the light of my face will shine upon you.
Wow.
And who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
You know, and you don't do it for that reason. You do it because it's the right thing. And we're supposed to rescue people out of their stuff.
Yeah.
And so... And for me, I look at it, much is given, much is required. And so it's just what I've got to be about for the rest of my life.
And you still see yourself as a worship leader. That was interesting to hear you say that.
Well, I was a worship leader before I was a worship leader for almost 20 years before I ever did the worship record.
Yeah. And
I was doing pop music and Go West and Love Crusade and all that. And I was leading worship in my church.
I heard that. Amy Grant actually said that she would love to hear you lead worship because she knew where it would be going. And so it's funny that, man, you were doing that before the worship album came out. Yeah. But you still see yourself as a worship leader still.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Powerful. Thank you for your time. I got to tell you, I've been looking forward to this day for a long time. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for making the drive.
Oh, it's great. Thank you so much.